What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Two Bucks Sports Podcast, coming to you live tonight. Bucket's here, checking in from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. But those of you on our YouTube channel, you see our handy-dandy field reporter, Uncle Buck, is on the road again. What's happening, Uncle Buck?
Hey, Buckets. I'm coming to you from beautiful Murfreesboro, Tennessee. No really fun reason to say that I'm up here other than just work training, living out of a hotel room again. And if I'll have to apologize to all of our listeners, if you wonder why I'm sounding so gravelly, it's not because I started smoking. I've come down with something. So if I stop mid-sentence, mute the microphone, and Rusty takes over, it's because it's coming up. So just bear with me a little bit, and we'll get through this episode of the podcast.
Absolutely. We'll get it figured out, Uncle Buck. Listen, you just tell people you're in Power Ranger training. That's what you're doing. Power Ranger.
Yeah, I mean, I've been shipped off to the Marvel campus. What do they call it? I don't know what they call it. Power Rangers.
You're at the X-Men school, Professor X's school of mutants.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like the Marvel compound, in upstate New York, except it's for the Power Rangers.
That's it.
That guy that's, the guy that's got the little UFO for a head. That's where he's at.
There you
go. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
I did see that they were coming out with a new Power Rangers series on Netflix.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not that I'm interested or anything, but yeah. The only thing I'm scrolling through social media, and a lot of the times when I see stuff, I will just watch it and not click on it so the sound comes through. If I'm in a meeting or something or Power Ranger training and I'm on my phone, I'll just watch it with no sound on. And the only thing I could take away from it was, dang, that Power Ranger looks like he's in his mid-40s. Like, do they not call the herd at a certain age anymore? But I digress.
Apparently, there's not a cutoff age. You can be a Power Ranger as long as those knees hold up.
Yeah. So we're not starting off the show with a draft today. If y'all haven't wished my co-host Buckets a happy birthday yet, you need to go on and do it now. He turned 36, right?
Yep,
36 on Saturday, March the 28th. And
18th.
March the 18th. What did I say? 28th?
28th. It's the medicine.
Yeah, that ain't happened yet. Yeah, March the 18th. And so while I was hoping that he would have his present from me and before last week's podcast, I've made him wait until this week's podcast to open it up right here on YouTube Live or on our YouTube stream. And if you're listening to it on the podcast on Thursday, just hop in and watch this real quick. I'm really excited about it. So, Rusty, give me your thoughts as you're opening it up.
All right. So, Bucks come all the way from Northeast Mississippi up here to me in South Carolina. They got it taped up pretty good. Taped and glued, I guess. Put that out of the mic so it don't deafen all of our listeners. Dun da da da.
Turn it around. Do you know what that is? That logo.
I do not. I like the camo print.
Look at the bottom of the. Yeah, tell the listeners.
Let's go. It's a Steven Adams hoodie. Dude, that's awesome.
It's the Steven Adams, his branded merch. So I ordered this like a month and a half ago, and I guess I should have thought it through, but it came from New Zealand. So, yeah. And so I knew that it had the New Zealand currency on it when I checked out, and they just, I guess Apple Pay just converted it for me. And so, yeah, it came all the way from New Zealand. And StevenAdams.com has a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of really cool things on it.
I appreciate that, and this will not be the last Steven Adams branded attire that I have now that I know this exists. Have you seen him?
It's cool because he's also, I guess he finances some youth leagues or semi-pro leagues or something in New Zealand, because he's got a whole bunch of little team merch there. And they're awesome. I wish I had remembered that we were doing this tonight. Maybe in a minute I'll have it pulled up. But they were all kinds of cool team names, and he had merch for all of them. So I went through and thought about getting you, just a random New Zealand team.
Yeah.
But the Steven Adams hoodie was pretty sweet.
Dude, that's incredible. That's awesome. I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, that will be rocked many times here in South Carolina. I appreciate that, man. That's cool.
Yeah, look at the.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so
It's
I knew you wouldn't know what it was when you first looked at it, but. All right, so here, tell me, college football needs some more of these names, okay? You've got the Auckland City Basketball. That's the league.
Mm-hmm.
Waitakere Wolfpack, the Eastern Bay Jellyfish, the Evolution Gators, the Otahuhu Shinobi Pandas, the Baseline Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
The Manjeri United Saints, the Central Auckland Silverbacks, and the jersey that I'm going to buy, the Young Bucks.
That's perfect, man. That sounds like Oh yeah,
and
that sounds
all
like
the logos.
Oh, the logos are slick.
The Silverbacks one was the one I almost got you.
That's cool.
With the King Kong hanging off the top of.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
That's really cool, man. And one of a kind gear. That's awesome. He's a celebrity now, more so than normal. He's in the AT&T commercial. He's funding these XFL sounding youth basketball leagues. This is awesome, man. Steven Adams just continues to be one of my favorite dudes in the NBA.
I've never been more shocked to see a Grizzlies player on a commercial.
Right?
Nothing against Steven Adams. I mean, he's as marketable as anybody on the team, John Moran included, personality-wise.
Yeah.
Just did not think anybody else would see that in him.
Yeah. Good for him. Get your bag, especially while you can't play right now. Get your bag starring in the AT&T commercials with Lily. So.
Yeah. And Jalen from Gonzaga. Jalen Suggs.
Thank you. Yep.
So, all right, Rusty, we've got your birthday. Your birthday is completely gone until next year at this point.
Let's go.
Don't expect any more special treatment until next March. And so take us to where you're going to lead us where we're going to go next.
So tonight we don't have a draft. We wanted to get into sports. And so kind of to prime the sports conversation, I guess, I found this on Instagram just moments ago. This is literally like a fresh idea. I just saw this. I'm going to post it to our Instagram page. It's a reel that I saw. And I want to get the audience's opinion, especially those of you who have been NBA fans for a while, like Uncle Buck and myself. Right. Drew, we got 3 teams. All right. Tell me who you think is winning in a game. We have the all bald team.
Oh, okay.
The all receding team.
Is this a reel or is it a picture? You could send it to me and I can have it up at the same time.
I took a screenshot. I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you so you got it while I queue it up. And then I'm going to post the reel to our Instagram story. And then those of you who get on, vote. Tell me what you think. All right. So I'm going to name some of the players for the people listening. We have the all bald team, the all receding team, and the all long hair team.
Okay. All right.
So in the all bald
go
team,
through the players with us, yeah.
And then I have a strong opinion on who's going to win this game, and we'll see. So the all bald team is Kevin Garnett, and these are prime. So this is not today. Right. This is prime players. Prime Kevin Garnett, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Shaq, and Jason Kidd. That's your all bald team.
Okay.
Your all receding team is Manu Ginobili, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Chris Middleton.
Boy, you couldn't find a 5th one there, could you?
That's what I'm saying. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And then the all long hair team is Julius Erving, John Morant, Larry Bird, Dirk Nowitzki, and Steve Nash.
Okay.
Who's winning?
Well, I'm not going to let my my love for the Grizzlies and John Morant get in the way. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
Just first glance, the ball team is killing them.
Yes.
Okay. So let me go through. Every team's got their weak link, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The ball team is Jason Kidd.
Yeah,
okay?
Clearly.
The underrated one, if you can get underrated, people have forgotten how amazing Charles Barkley was.
So for me, my underrated was
everybody. A whole generation has grown up thinking Charles Barkley is the guy from inside the NBA, and he is, and he's incredible at it.
Yeah.
But you go back and watch Charles Barkley highlights. It is incredible for a guy that's maybe an inch taller than you, Rusty.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like 6'5".
Yeah. And like he was Zebo before Zebo was Zebo, right? Because he was a relatively unathletic big guy who could just ball. Like guy could just hoop. For me though, in that lineup, it's Kevin Garnett. Right. People know him for he can't pronounce words on inside the NBA. He's got some funny memes out there. Nothing is impossible, or impossible is nothing. I do too. But dude, he was a menace on the defensive end of the court. Like he would straight up body any of these guys except for the MVP. And it's not even Jordan, but prime Shaq Diesel is going to destroy any of these teams.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the matchup, so who is guarding? I don't want to disparage anybody, but is Kareem guarding Shaq? Is Dirk guarding Shaq?
Yeah.
Or Dr. J guarding Shaq? I mean, no, yeah. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's the ball team, and I think they probably, given the intensity, they're the most intense. Both ends of the ball players too. Killers. I mean, you've got just straight killers in Jordan and Garnett.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not even fair. Yeah. I mean, that team by itself could just wheel a win.
And all Jason Kidd has to do is facilitate. He does nothing but facilitate. And Jordan gets open.
For 2/3 of his career, he couldn't shoot anyways.
That's what I'm saying. And so this team would carry him on the offensive end. He would facilitate, be the floor general. Shaq would give any of these guys a ride. I mean, he is done. Like he's picking them up like he did Sean Bradley. Like if Shaq can dominate some of the greatest defensive centers of all time in Dikembe, David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, he's going to make light work of the rest of these guys. No offense to Kareem, you're one of the greats, but Shaq was different.
Well, it's funny. Just to kind of stay on that a little bit. It's funny watching inside the NBA because I believe that is like perfect television, perfect basketball television between Shaq and Chuck, and then you've got Ernie Johnson, who's the best host in sports, regardless of sport. In sports, Ernie Johnson is the GOAT of hosting. But Shaq has this problem with putting himself in. To see in perspective about his time in the NBA. Because he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'd kill him. Kill him. And he's right. And the problem is he never had to learn to be good, to beat anybody. He was always bigger and stronger and faster in things that you just couldn't coach.
Yeah.
And so he has a hard time he apologizes a lot because he'll look at players and be like, they're bums. And it's just because they're not him.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're talking about expectations, shoot, try seeing the NBA through Shaq's eyes.
Yeah. I mean, just based on like pure ability, the debate and like the numbers are there for MJ, Jordan, Wilt, don't get me wrong, but just on pure ability to just wreak havoc. Shaq does not have an equal. From like Shaq would dominate 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s today purely based on size. I mean, the guy is a Goliath and he gets those hips going and there's nobody that could stop him in the post. He could cover ground like nobody's business with that wingspan. And for that reason, all ball, that team is going to work anybody that they play against.
Yeah. And a big snub on the all hair team is Kelly Olynyk. I mean, I don't know how you miss him.
Just because of the hair.
Take out Dirk. I mean, if we're really doing it based on good hair, like, are we just saying the best players who have hair? Okay, well, then fine. But if I'm drafting an all-hair team, give me Jared Allen.
Yeah.
From Cleveland.
Yeah.
Perfect afro.
I mean, yeah. Or what was it? Iman Shumpert had that paintbrush for a little while. That had like the perfect paintbrush.
The worst was it Reggie Bullock who had the hair that flipped over the front
forward and then like the little tentacles.
It looked like you You seen the old drawings of when you put the carrot out in front of
Yep.
the donkey and make him go?
Yep.
That's what he had going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So on this list is the all ball team. Maybe Uncle Buck and I get bored enough, we'll create an all afro team or an all hair team, but all bald, all receding, all long hair. Check it out on our Instagram page. Give us a vote. Tell us who you think is going to win that matchup. I'm curious to what you think. The host of the video picked the all receding team. I think it's a recency bias, but regardless, all bald.
I'm sorry, you lost me with Chris Middleton. Is there not a fifth player?
I'm saying, like, Manu, I'll give you. Like, that's a great pick. KD, fine. But Chris Middleton, like, you think he's going to guard Jordan? Like, I guess maybe you put him on Steve Nash, or Jason Kidd, but
yeah, you would hide Middleton on Kidd, I guess. Yeah, you gave me Shaq and Jordan on the same team.
That's all I need.
I don't think you could put together any 5 more players.
No.
I think you could give me, you give me Shaq and Jordan, and then you build a team of 5 based on the remaining players.
Yeah.
And then I'll fill in my 3. And I think I may still take Shaq and Jordan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how's Kobe Bryant not in the ball team over Jason Kidd?
That's what I'm saying. My one snub, either that or the all receding, because for the short time he had that little receding hairline. Like, Kobe's got to be on here somewhere, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to spark a little debate before we start talking.
Yeah. It's a little brain exercise.
So our first topic tonight is, Drew, I'm a fan of meaningless baseball. After the last couple of weeks of quote unquote meaningless baseball, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about the World Baseball Classic. That was some of the greatest must-watch baseball that we've seen in a long time.
I'm sorry. Are you really going to call it meaningless?
That's
you
not
saw
what
the stands, right?
That's not what I'm calling it. I didn't call that. That's from some reporters. That's from MLB. That was kind of trickled out. That's not me, dude. This was incredible. I'm like you. You and I've talked about this on this podcast. I am Team USA, regardless of what the sport is. I don't care what it is. I will root for USA. If we're talking chess, if we're talking basket weaving, especially if we're talking baseball.
You put the stars and bars on a game and sing the national anthem in front of it, I'm watching it.
I mean,
yeah.
And so,
although we should change the national anthem to "God Bless America," but I digress.
But yeah, man, the last couple of weeks we've had some phenomenal baseball. Trey Turner is the new Captain America after his slash line for the last couple of weeks, only to be overshadowed last night by a once in a generation, possibly a once in a forever type player in Shohei Ohtani.
Stop. It's Ohtani.
I corrected myself. My dyslexia was acting up. I do apologize for that. Shohei Ohtani, who had the
greatest two-way baseball player of all time.
He had the highest exit velocity on a hit, and he had the fastest pitch out of anybody in the entire World Baseball Classic.
And he got to first base in 4.5 seconds to beat out an infield single last night. I mean, all right, so let's just set it up a little bit. You know, the World Baseball Classic is like the Olympics. It's every 3 years. Baseball is the only sport America does right that compete on a world scale.
Yes.
Because America has still not quite figured out men's soccer yet.
No.
And so baseball, it's the Baseball World Cup. And you know Uncle Buck was there for the World Cup. You know, that's when we started this podcast, just so I could talk about the World Cup. And the United States lost early to Mexico, and Japan lost one, but it all came down to last night. It was the Japanese versus the United States playing in Miami, and it was electric baseball. Like Rusty said, it's not Seager. Tell me the guy's name who hit the home run in the second inning last night.
Well, Trey Turner, right?
Trey Turner.
Yes.
I want to say Kyle Seager, but one of those shortstops.
Yeah.
Hits a solo shot, and then Japan answers right back with a solo shot. Later in the inning, they work in another run, and it gets up to 3-1 in the 8th inning, and Kyle Schwarber, Rusty's beloved, Kyle Schwarber,
forever a Cub.
I was watching this live. I don't think you were, Rusty.
No.
He hit about 8 with 2 strikes. He had about 8 foul balls, pulled them down the first baseline, 8 of them in a row, and then finally slowed down long enough to punch one in the third deck in Miami to cut it down to 1. And then, as only it can do in the movies, the 9th inning came out and Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese phenom, comes out to close the game on the mound, and he gets 2 quick outs. He got a single and a double play, and then his teammate, quite possibly the best baseball player of all time, who nobody knows about, Mike Trout, comes up, and Shohei fans him.
But did you see what happened beforehand, though? The little nod from Mike Trout. Shohei had the cold stare. Like, they knew it was a moment. These are two of the greatest baseball players of our generation stepping up
absolutely
in the biggest moment.
And that's you can't script that any better. And for Shohei to buckle in, and they said that he has not thrown relief innings since 2015. That's before he even came to the United States to play.
Yeah.
And so for him to get that strikeout like that, I wasn't even mad, because how many times can you think of a game or a series that has the perfect pinnacle at the very end? I mean, you're talking, buzzer beater, ball in the air in the fourth quarter of an NBA championship game. Yeah. That's what that was last night, and it was 1v1 teammates. It was like if you had to, if America and Japanese sent their tribute for a 1v1 matchup, that would have been the matchup.
Absolutely.
It was the perfect matchup.
I mean, yeah.
When it was over, I wasn't even mad that we lost. I mean, it would have been nice to see Trout, tied up.
Yeah.
But that was just a moment that I'm glad I watched.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You've got Japan, who's got 2 of the best pitchers in the bigs right now. Darvish is up and down, but when he's on, he's untouchable. The USA roster was loaded from top to bottom, and that's great. We beat the T off of Great Britain again with the most cheap, hideous sports uniforms of all time.
Yeah, they probably got those made once they got over here.
Listen,
some T-shirt shop in Miami.
No offense to the Winter Circle in Corinth, Mississippi, but that's kind of where it came from. Like, it just came from a little shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's fitting. They don't have enough players, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got Venezuela, Mexico was a Cinderella story for a little bit, but it came down to the 2 countries that are producing some of the best baseball players right now. It was a great game last night and a fitting end to the World Baseball Classic. We'll see y'all in 3 years.
Before we get off here, you brought up Team Mexico, and I want to see if you had heard about this or not. And then we'll get off the World Baseball Classic. We probably spent too much time on it. Randy Arozarena. You familiar with Randy Arozarena? Had his breakout for the Rays when they made it to the World Series a couple years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Former Cardinal. His story to get to the Mexican team. Have you heard this?
Mm-mm.
So it goes like this. He is from Cuba. And like everybody knows, if you ever get out of Cuba, they're always scared you're going to defect and never come back. Well, that's what Arozarena did. He got out of Cuba, and he went to Mexico. And he had been in Mexico, and he started with nothing. And he just tried out for, whatever semi-professional ball he could get into. And he worked his way up till the Cardinals signed him when he was 19 years old. He was never granted citizenship in Mexico. And so he wrote a letter to the president, head honcho, whatever they call him in Mexico, and was like, if you give me citizenship, I will play for you guys in the World Baseball Classic. And that's how he got his citizenship.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So we have 2 defectors, because this year we had Cuba's bullpen catcher, Ivan Prieto, Prieto, who, when Cuba flew back to Cuba out of Miami, was nowhere to be found for the flight home. How about that?
I'm surprised he was the only one that defected.
Yeah, he is the first player to ever defect during the World Baseball Classic.
Well, that's the last time you'll see a Cuban team leave Cuba.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. He just ruined it for everybody else. But Anyway, Uncle Buck, we have a bracket challenge going on right now, and I'm gonna be honest, man. We had a good turnout. I had almost 30 entries this year. Uncle Buck and I were talking off air the other day. Like, some of y'all, if y'all find a way to win, y'all gonna have to let us know who you are because we don't recognize everybody in this.
Yeah, all these ESPN user.
Yeah.
12-digit number at the end of it. You're gonna have to help me out.
That's it, man, because we've got a prize for the winner, and currently 130 Brandon won. I'm assuming it's lump from our fantasy football league.
It's either lump or Neasy.
One of the
Brandon
two.
Smith. I'm not sure.
Pick Purdue. RIP, your champion.
Yeah.
He's in first place right now, but his max points only 800 points because he lost Purdue. Same with second place with Stash Respect, Mr. Zach Jones losing the Arizona Wildcats.
The team to watch is the team that's next.
Yeah.
Aaron Ivey, our good buddy, Kentucky homer. We probably need to get him on the podcast and let him defend Will Levis before the draft starts. But
that's a great idea.
He's sitting at 1,500 points as his max points, and so that leads the league. And so if he kind of just holds the rope there,
that's it.
He may get him a T-shirt.
That's it. He is in prime position. The only other one that's kind of in contention with him would be Big Shots, ESPN user number 048654005, who has 1,490 points available.
Yeah, you're gonna have to prove that it's you.
That's it. We're gonna need proof if you're gonna get that coveted T-shirt, Uncle Buck, that comes with winning the league. So yeah, we're in a good spot. It's been a fun tournament. Listen, man, when you don't have a dog in the hunt, you root for chaos, and chaos is what we have gotten. We've had 2 number 1 seeds eliminated, with Purdue and Kansas losing to one of the most insufferable fan bases in the Arkansas Razorbacks, but I digress, especially on Arkansas Twitter. But we've got Alabama still in the mix.
I do kind of like Musselman, though.
Yeah, he's a coach, man.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, I like Musselman. I like a coach in his mid-50s that'll jump on the scores table and take his shirt off.
Listen, no, I'm here for that. I'm just talking about their obnoxious fans on Twitter, because you've been in Arkansas Twitter before. You know, it's a scary place, man.
I mean, it's a cesspool. But, I tried not to listen to those people.
And that's what happens when your family tree is built like a light pole.
Yeah.
But I digress. What matchups are you looking at this weekend? We're going to have some good basketball games this weekend. We've got some Cinderellas and the Princeton Tigers playing the Creighton Blue Jays. I think that's the sneaky good matchup. San Diego State is a sneaky team against Alabama. They're a defensive menace. I think that could be a good game. I think that Kansas State, Michigan State game is one I'm going to watch, because Izzo clearly always has his team ready to play, and Kansas State.
Unless they don't know, because he's gotten knocked out a few times. Now he's made it to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
Of the games that are left, I'm probably most excited about watching Xavier, Texas, or Arkansas, UConn.
Agreed.
But you don't really have the sexy matchups yet. Low key, I'm cheering for Kansas State throughout.
Mm-hmm.
I love that story.
Mm-hmm. With the coach.
Yeah. What's your favorite upset of the year so far? Is it Fairleigh Dickinson?
I mean, it's got to be, right?
Purdue? Yeah.
It's got to be. It's got to be Fairleigh Dickinson, or what was the other one I was looking at?
Arizona getting beat by Princeton.
Princeton was a good upset. I mean, there's been some really good ones. Furman beating Virginia almost to the day of the UMBC game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my biggest upset. That bonehead play that Virginia point guard made to chunk the ball downfield with 5 seconds to go downfield. Now it might as well be downfield.
Right.
Down court with 5 seconds to go.
I sent you the video that was showing the play on the court. And
Kevin Harlan is incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. And him holding his hands out, letting everybody know, letting Stan Van Gundy and the other guy know, do not talk here. I'm setting this up.
Mm-hmm.
And he holds his hands out like he's blocking people from getting in a fight. And he was just like, ah! Ah! And then let it rest and let the crowd kind of take over. Yeah. And then just come back in with like, what was he doing? It was incredible call. It was incredible call.
Job.
An incredible moment like that can only go like be the best ever if the call matches it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to have that Mike Breen bang or Kevin Harlan yelling good.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of Furman, we share a common appreciation for one of their more famous alumnus. Well, I guess several of them. You know what famous musical group comes from Furman?
It's in South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Need to Breathe?
Yeah, Need to Breathe, man. They cut their teeth singing in the dorm rooms and on campus at Furman, where Bear Reinhardt is one of their all-time leading receivers on their football team.
Yeah, I love Bear. I love Need to Breathe.
Love Need to Breathe, and therefore I was rooting for Furman, but they got eliminated the next round by the Aztecs, who now face.
If you're a 16 seed, though, I mean, that coach got a heck of a pay raise because he took over the Iona job when Patino went over St. John's.
St. Mary's. St. John's.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alabama better watch out, man. If San Diego State starts defending you when you get off the bus, I think that's going to be a sneaky good game on the 24th.
Yeah.
All right.
It's neat. That wasn't the only ticket punch of the Sweet 16 though, and I've told you I'm not going to bury the lead setting it up. Ole Miss women as an 8 seed in the women's college basketball March Madness defeated the 1 seed Stanford Cardinal at Stanford at their home field to make their first Sweet 16 since 2007.
Yep.
And obviously their first win against a 1 seed ever.
Right.
That game was incredible. And I told you afterwards, I said, I'm not going to be that guy who shows up at the podcast was like, I've been watching them all year long. This is great. I'm like, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
But just like I cheer for the United States, whether playing pickleball or whatever, same way with Ole Miss. And when we're making a run in anything, I've watched softball, I've watched golf. That women's basketball game was special on Sunday night. I believe it was Sunday night. They got off the bus. They walked onto the court and just was like chihuahuas.
Yeah.
Chomping at the ankles of these big, tall Stanford women playing basketball.
I mean, they were giving up 4 to 6 inches at every position.
And they just went total pack mentality. And there were 2 or 3 different times in the game where Stanford didn't make a bucket for 5 minutes.
Right.
And then it got close at the end. Ole Miss hit them in the mouth.
Yep.
And Stanford crept back and tied it with about a minute to go. And you could kind of tell that Ole Miss did not let it hurt their feelings that this game was now in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
But they just turned it up a notch. And you could tell that Stanford hadn't been in a lot of close games. They didn't know how to put it away when they needed to. Because first possession after they tied it, Ole Miss went and missed a shot, turnover or something. And Stanford turned it right back over and fouled. And they're shooting free throws from that point forward.
Yep.
Great game. Coach Yolette McGeown is the Ole Miss women's basketball coach. And she went on an interview on a podcast with Coach Jason Brown. You remember Jason Brown from Last Chance U?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said there was a couple lines in there. She was like, we don't want no house dog. I need an outside dog. That's why I like pit bulls. And then she said, I know we're not competing for any McDonald's All-Americans here at Ole Miss, but that's changing. But I'll take all your Wendy's All-Americans you got. And so she's a good quote. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Listen, I appreciate a good story.
Props to Coach Yo.
Absolutely.
When she took over that Ole Miss women's basketball program, her first year they went 0-16 in the SEC.
Yeah. Big shout out. I was going to give the Mississippi State girls a shout out. They got a big win over Creighton and then competed with Notre Dame, who had a defensive tackle playing in the post and got away with a lot. But it's overshadowed by our in-state rivals. And I appreciate greatness when I see it. Ole Miss is on a great, great run. And for the state of Mississippi, I hope it continues. You got a tough matchup against Louisville, who's got some shooters. They can score. They're one of those women's teams that are always good. And, hey, man, for the home state, for the 662 and the 601, y'all go get them.
Yeah. It's exciting, and the thing is you're playing with house money now.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You
got nothing
started
to lose.
in the 8-9 game and just beat the ever living snot out of Gonzaga,
Yeah.
and then knocked off the number 1 team in the bracket at home.
Yeah.
And so now you got you're with house money now.
Yeah.
You play Louisville, who is a perennial powerhouse. I think they said they'd made 4 or 6 straight Sweet 16s.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a dynamic guard in Haley Van Lith, is her name. Go out there, give them your best shot. What you got to lose?
The most dangerous
Let it all
team in
hang
the
out.
tournament is the team that has nothing to lose. And so watch out for those Ole Miss Rebels as they take on the Louisville Cardinals on the 24th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, Friday night.
Friday night. All right, Drew. In other news, in some exciting news for the one joint team that we share, sticking in the basketball vein, one Call 12, Ja Morant is back for your Memphis Grizzlies tonight.
Yeah. So on Monday night, his suspension was completed from the NBA. They ended up giving him an 8-game suspension, but it was retroactive, so he only had to miss, I think, maybe 2 more games. And so he was on the sideline on Monday for Dallas, and he got a heck of an applause from the fans, and you could tell that the guys on the bench were just happy to see him there. And the Grizzlies had another big come from behind win to beat Dallas again. Dallas, who once again is not playing both of their superstars, just one of them.
And I told you with by adding Kyrie Irving, I think they got worse.
Yeah, and props to you for calling that. I've got a stat here.
Real quick, while you're looking that up, though, I want to say
I've got
shout
it here.
out. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So since trading for Kyrie Irving, Dallas is 3-6 when both Doncic and Irving play. They're 0-1 when only Luka plays. They're 3-1 when Kyrie plays without Luka, and they're 1-2 when neither of them play. So if you do the math, they're 6, 7, and 6, 7, 8, 10. 7-10 since trading for Kyrie.
Because they gave up so much to get him, and my favorite quote out of all of it was Kyrie the other night talking about Dylan playing that dumb you-know-it defense, and he held him to exactly 2 points in the fourth quarter?
0.
Yes,
well,
0.
Free throws. He was 0 for 9 from the field.
Right. To quote, to throw back and quote one of our beloved get out of your legal troubles, Tony Allen, but he cut his water off.
Yeah. He shut the water off.
He did, man.
All right, let's wrap up Ja, because Ja's back tonight.
Yes.
For some reason, I have thoughts on this. Ja is not in the starting lineup. Taylor Jenkins is bringing him off the bench. And I don't really know why. I mean, he's never going to play that role anyways. I don't know if this is like part of his punishment or kind of getting back, you're not going to do something stupid like that and immediately come and start over Tyus kind of thing.
That's kind of what I thought.
And if that's the case, then I get it. Mm-hmm. But if this is just a way to ramp him up, I don't like it because you've only got 10 games left.
Yeah.
And you need those 10 games. Now, you've played – we knock on wood, the core guys have played together most of the season. So you probably can pick up where you left off. But going into the playoffs, I want as many regular rotation minutes as I can get with my guys to be back comfortable.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's a punishment thing. I think he's wrapping up his suspension and saying, look, like you said, you're not going to step back into this lineup. We've got something good going. This team has chemistry. We have 2 double-digit fourth-quarter comeback wins over the last week, including the franchise record 29-point deficit overcome to beat the San Antonio Spurs. These boys are hot, man. You better watch out for the Memphis Grizzlies because we've lost our best big in Steven Adams till the playoffs. BC isn't coming back, but Jaren's been playing out of his mind. He's been scoring. He pounded a little bit the other night against in the last game the other night. Anyway, pouted a little bit in the Mavericks game and got some stupid fouls. But Dylan has been a menace on defense. He's actually been hitting some shots, which is not bad to see. Tyus has been a double-double machine. And I tell you who's been most impressive, particularly the other night against the Mavs, is Slim Spain. Santi Aldama cooking the other night.
Aldama has been great, and Roddy has been great.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the guys that you need in playoffs They're not going to get as many minutes, but the minutes they got will be of immense importance.
Absolutely.
Because they're most of Santi's minutes in the playoffs are going to be when Jaren needs a breather or he gets that third foul early.
Yep.
Roddy the same way. Roddy gets all of his playing time because Dylan Brooks don't quit getting technicals.
Right. 18 now.
He is serving his second suspension for just technical fouls, having 18 technical fouls. You get your first one at 16, you have to sit a game. At 18, you got to sit a game.
Every 2 after that. But did you see the video from practice today where Santi did the dance in his face and he buried the 3 and then did it back to him?
Yeah. And that was a silly technical. I mean, as far as Dylan goes, it was. Like that wasn't very villainous of Dylan. He's gotten worse before.
No, but anytime Tony Brothers is in the forum, we always struggle a little bit with fouls. It's no secret, but Tony
Brothers thinks everybody pays to watch him referee.
Absolutely. I cannot stand when he referees Grizzly games. But Jaren brought his technical on himself. And the other night, I digress. The Grizz are winning. They're playing winning basketball. And it's only going to get better with Ja coming back. And fingers crossed, thoughts and prayers, Steven Adams coming back in the playoffs.
Yeah. And don't look now, but the seeding is kind of settling on the top end of the West. Denver's going to be the 1 seed.
Yep.
Memphis and Sacramento will be either the 2 or the 3 seed. And the 4 seed right now is Phoenix. And they're kind of locked into that. So that's where I want us to stay. Because in that 2-3 matchup, of course, I'd love to have the 2 seed just for home field advantage in the second round. But I want to stay away from Denver and from Phoenix in that second round game.
As long as we can.
Yeah. Because if you drop to 4, you're going to feed into Denver. And so stay in that 2-3. And it looks like it's going to be that way. Right now, Memphis is 3.5 behind Denver. Sac is a game and a half behind Memphis. And Phoenix is 9.5 or 4.5 below Sacramento. So we're right kind of where I want to be.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's where we're gonna land. I think we've got our schedule is much more favorable than Phoenix, than Denver. Our schedule plays into our favor for the rest of the season. And I think I like where we're at. Like you said, Drew, we're up 2.5 on Sacramento. We're up 6 on Phoenix and then 7 on the Clippers. I want to stay in that 2 seed. We get home court in the second round. We'll have home court unless we play Denver. I think that's right where we need to be, particularly if we can get a healthy Steven Adams back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I've got a hunch that Denver may be trying to lose. They're 5-5 in their last 10. But you've got to lose better than they lose because I don't want that 1 seed.
Yeah.
Another thing that you're going to look at the 2 seed, which means you play the 7 seed, which means you play the winner of the 7-8 matchup in the play-in tournament. Right now, that's Oklahoma City and Dallas. Ooh, I like both of those chances.
Absolutely.
However, 7. All right, let's go to 6. Golden State's at 6, out of the play-in right now, and 4-6 in their last 10. Between 6, 7 Oklahoma City, 8 Dallas, 9 Minnesota, 10 Utah, 11 Lakers, 12 New Orleans. There is 1.5 games separated.
Yeah, that's wild. And the hottest team in there right now is the Thunder at 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah, and so they may sneak up into the 6th seed. And that's when you get the first round matchup I think everybody wants.
Absolutely.
Give me Golden State coming out of the 7th seed, beating, I don't know, Dallas or whoever, Minnesota,
whoever.
And give me a home series against Golden State. Because you're talking about the FedEx Forum they'll blow the lid off of it.
Absolutely.
We're going. Our good buddy Zach, I talked to him on my drive up to Murfreesboro on Monday, and he's like, "We're going.
Yeah.
We're going to a playoff game. We play Golden State."
There's nothing like playoff basketball at the FedEx Forum. I was there for the Western Conference Finals. I was there for the triple overtime game against the Thunder, and there's nothing better than playoff basketball at the Forum. And to quote the great Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so they may not think they were rivals, but we're going to kick their tail in a playoff series in Memphis, man. Let's go. I'm fired up.
Yeah, that's what I want. I was on the fence talking to Zach, but he really convinced me. Give me that matchup. I would rather play Golden State than Dallas or Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, just the excitement factor.
Yeah.
To go and have that in the first round.
Yeah.
And Golden State forgets we've knocked them out of the tournament in that play-in year.
Yep.
Ole Miss. The Grizzlies won two games in the play-in tournament to get the 8 seed to go up against Utah that year.
Yep.
And the second one was winner goes on, loser goes home between Golden State, and we beat them because Draymond almost broke the backboard on a layup in crunch time.
Yeah, and so nothing will be better than beating that mouth breather in Draymond Green. Klay Thompson, who I'm convinced is a bum. You can count on your fingers all your NBA title rings from the past. That's fine. Just know you got your butt kicked the other night.
Yeah. So
anyway,
keep deflecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's the equivalent of at the barbershop. The guy's like, back in my day, we played physical. Like,
yeah, okay,
all right,
cool.
You know, I'm sorry, you're not. What do you want? Respect because you won a championship last year?
Yeah, cool.
Or 3 other ones? I mean, sure, I'll give you respect, but don't think you're going to come in here and we're going to kiss the ring either.
No, you're going to get our best shot because you talk all that noise. You got to be able to back it up, especially this year. Man, let's go. I'm ready for that series start tomorrow. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But, Drew, after all, this is a college baseball podcast. And right now, there's some doldrums in Oxford, Mississippi and Starkville, Mississippi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ole Miss was 14-3 going into this weekend. And a road loss to Jacksonville State happened. And then 3 losses at Vanderbilt happened. And, they are who I thought they were. The old Dennis Green quote. They are who we thought they were. I told you going in there, we're the defending champions. You see it on my hat. We lost a lot of pieces. And anybody who thought that it was a given that this team was good enough to repeat was just being too much of a fan.
Yeah.
This team, especially minus Hunter Elliott, your Friday night ace, there's a lot of holes. And what happened is on the road against Vanderbilt last weekend, every hole that we had was exposed. They had 2 bona fide aces that just shut us down. We had 4 errors in the first game, which is something that we have not had before. Mm-hmm. We were 4th in the country in fielding percentage going into that series and had 4 errors in game 1 on Thursday. And so that coupled with the fact that you need to string together hits, important, timely hits against an ace like they had on Thursday night. Once you have 4 errors, it's over. Mm-hmm. And Friday, which was game 2 this week, we got 2 hit complete game shutout.
Yeah.
I mean
you can't not much you can do with that.
Yeah. Sunday, Ole Miss calls it Energy Sunday. That's what they believe wins on Sundays is what team's got the best energy. And they came out and got smacked around again.
Yeah.
Just a weekend you won't forget. And it was very reminiscent last year. Opening weekend of the SEC play, Tennessee came to town.
Yeah.
And they just beat us wickedly. I mean, it was humiliating. And that's what we had again this year.
Yeah. It doesn't get any easier looking forward. Got a win against Arkansas Pine Bluff, but then the number 3 team in the country comes to town.
We got Florida coming to Oxford this weekend. Mm-hmm. And so it does not get any easier. I've told you, Ole Miss has got to figure out a way to get to the back half of this season around or right below 500 in SEC play. But that schedule is a bear to start it. You can can start your first weekends at Vanderbilt, Florida at home, at Texas A&M, which looks better now as a matchup.
Yeah.
Arkansas at home, Mississippi State on the road, LSU at home. And then you end the season with Georgia, Missouri, Auburn, and Alabama.
Yeah.
You need to put yourself in a situation where you don't need to sweep those last 3 or 4 series.
Right.
And
I think,
I don't know how you do it, but you've got another month of that Hunter Elliott pitching on Fridays. Mm-hmm. And what does he look like when he comes back? Who knows?
Yeah.
But you've got to figure out a way to string some wins together and win at least one every weekend and try to win 2 if you're at home.
That's it. And see, like you said, schedule doesn't get any easier for the next month, but then it's backloaded a little bit more favorable. Unlike your Mississippi State Bulldogs, who are in a very similar slump, we got absolutely
Don't
worked.
say your Mississippi State Bulldogs, ain't mine.
I'm just talking to our audience. Your Mississippi State Bulldogs got absolutely worked in 20-degree weather at Lexington against the Kentucky Wildcats, who are the 23rd ranked team in the country. But they had like 8 fans there, no media members because their men's basketball team was playing. And so they relied on the Associated Press for their press releases, and they absolutely crushed us. They should have ruled us on Saturday on my birthday, which was a crappy birthday present. They did rule us on Sunday. And just got absolutely embarrassed. It was not to the standard of Mississippi State baseball. We had balls rolling through outfielders' legs. We were overshooting the first baseman. We were hitting batters, walking batters. I mean, it was like the bad news bears out there. It was atrocious. Recovered a good bit last night. Beat up on Arkansas State 16-2 in a game that we really needed for a bounce back because it doesn't get any easier. You think Ole Miss's schedule is rough? We played at Kentucky for the 23rd ranked team. We have Vanderbilt at home this weekend. Then we have South Carolina, who's number 11 after that, at Alabama, and then Ole Miss comes to town. We really don't get a relief. It's kind of like Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn, and then it's right back to Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, and A&M to finish out the season. So we have got to find some ways to win some SEC baseball games because, Drew, I don't care what Chris Lemonis said, and this was such a Bush League comment in my opinion. Like, I get what he's trying to say. But we're 0-14 in our last SEC baseball games dating back to last year. Have not beaten an SEC baseball team in 14 games. Like, that is abysmal, and that is not the standard of Mississippi State baseball, and it doesn't get any easier. We're playing those same Vanderbilt Commodores in Starkville this weekend who worked a good Ole Miss baseball team. Oof. Offense is not the issue. I think we'll find some runs, and we'll find some hits, and we'll find some opportunities to get the ball in play. Is just our pitching. I mean, we still continue to hit batters. We continue to walk batters. We continue to struggle keeping guys off the base path. Ross Highfall is a freshman catcher. He's got a bright future ahead of him, but guys are stealing left and right. Luke Hancock, our captain, our 5th-year senior, I think base runners are now like, I want to say like 22 for 25 on him. Like, we're stealing bases left and right. And so we've got to find a way to play some winning baseball on the defensive side and throw some strikes. Dad burn it. We've got to figure out how to throw strikes.
Yeah, and that's something that's played both of our teams because Ole Miss can't throw strikes either.
Yeah.
You hope our problem is inexperience and Tommy John surgery, honestly. These guys have got to start just throw the ball down the middle if you've got to. You can't let them walk.
I mean, that's it. You got to throw strikes, whatever the cost. You have to throw strikes, the thing kills Mississippi State real quick. And I'm sure Ole Miss has the same problem. Is we're bad about walking the first batter of the inning, and that first walk is what kills you because now you've got a base runner, and it's distraction to the pitcher. Particularly with our catching this year so far, has not been effective at throwing.
Because
like I said, that's it. You know they're moving, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a rough weekend for both of us. I'd still like my team a little bit better just because I think we've got a little bit more seasoning there, but both teams are really struggling right now. We'll see.
So last week you were a 6
like
out
a
of
series
10.
win. Yeah. There's nothing that a series win against Florida can't fix. You know?
Last week you were a 6 out of 10. Where are you at this week?
I think I said 7.5.
7.5. That's right. That's right. 7.5.
It's kind of hard to say after one weekend. I said this last year. We weren't podcasting, so I didn't tell everybody. But it's kind of hard to see. Last year, I looked at that Tennessee team that beat us, and I was like, they're better than us. But that doesn't mean we're not good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see what Vanderbilt looks like next week.
Yeah.
Against Mississippi State on the road.
Yeah.
I still maybe I'll drop it down to a 7. I mean, I definitely don't feel better, but I don't feel like I assumed this team was world beaters either. We've got our issues, and we've got the same issues that I knew we had. Every one of them was just exposed last weekend.
Yeah. I was about a 5.5 on Mississippi State. It's opening weekend, like you said. It's hard to tell about opening weekend of SEC ball, but we looked bad, and the schedule does not get any easier over the next few weeks. I'm probably more like a 4, maybe 4.5 now, simply because the schedule gets harder, and we really needed some momentum. We needed one of those games, especially Friday night. We had the game. We lost on a wild pitch that they scored a runner from third. And that's tough. You beat yourself right there. You had an opportunity to get a season opening win or weekend opening win, and who knows how the rest of the weekend goes. Do you get run ruled? Maybe, but at the same time, you've got momentum going into Saturday, picking up that Friday night win, and to lose in that fashion is so deflating. So deflating.
Yeah. And it really just set a late Friday night loss that's a kick to the stomach like that.
Yeah.
It takes a mature team to get past it.
Yeah.
And State is very, very young.
Yeah, very young, and I don't know that we're super well coached right now. I'm not on that. There's a fire Lamonis trend on Twitter, and I think it's stupid. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to fire Chris Lamonis, stop it. Get some help. The guy has they're saying we need to fire him and get somebody with Omaha experience. Guy has Omaha experience. We have a national championship. Give him time to figure it out. You're not going to fire somebody mid-season. Maybe if they don't have a plan going into next year, that's a conversation to be had. But stop it. We're not firing Chris Lamonis. There needs to be maybe some pitching coaching changes in the offseason, but not a head coach change. That's going to set you back even further.
Okay, so you're going to give him this year regardless.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you don't make a change mid-baseball season. It's not like football in the NFL. You don't traditionally, unless there is an Andy Cannizzaro kind of situation, you don't make a change mid-season.
Yeah.
You just don't do that.
All right. So if you go 10-20 this year, do you feel the same way?
I think at that point it's either your supporting staff or you've got something has to change.
You definitely get the one shot to fire your assistants.
That's it.
He's got that bullet left to fire. What was their record last year in the SEC? Wasn't it it was bad, 8-22 or something like that.
And we lost. We got swept the last 3 series, including Missouri, who is not this year's Missouri, not the SEC East leading Missouri Tigers from this year. They were bad last year, and they came to Starkville and absolutely beat the crap out of us on our home field to end out the season. And then we went winless in Hoover, and it was embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah, we swept Missouri at Missouri late in the season last year. And it's kind of what started the Rebs getting hot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
we swept Missouri, we swept LSU, and we that was really when the don't let the Rebs get hot caught on.
Yeah.
And they got hot, and we wouldn't have been anywhere without sweeping Missouri last year.
Yep. So a quick update of the SEC baseball standings. It's obviously weekend 1 in the SEC, but it's kind of some parity, especially in the East. You've got 4 teams tied for first place. One of these is not like the other. You've got Vanderbilt, who's 3-0, swept the Ole Miss Rebels 16-5 overall, but they are tied with the Missouri Tigers, the Kentucky Wildcats, and those South Carolina Gamecocks, who are 20-2 overall in the season. They're 3-0. They swept Georgia, not a great team, but got a good opening weekend win and lead the SEC East, followed by Florida, who is 2-1. They lost that one game to Alabama. Tennessee, who got swept by those same Missouri Tigers, and Georgia Bulldogs at 0-3 to round out the East.
Yeah, that Missouri team that you were very low on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was.
They took Tennessee's lunch money this weekend.
Yeah.
Tennessee's not the team of last year. They don't have the batting that they had last year.
Yeah.
They still got the 2 pitchers that are great.
Yeah.
But Missouri, Lay the wood. And it's got to be hard to go play in March in Columbia, Missouri.
I mean, it's just like Lexington. It was cold. It was windy. It was not a fun experience. I mean, you imagine playing the outfield out there and 20-mile-an-hour winds and 30-something degrees. You're freezing your tail off, man. And then to round out the West, it's kind of playing out similar to how we thought. Arkansas is number 1 at 3-0. LSU is 2-1. They dropped 1 over the weekend. Surprisingly, Alabama is tied with A&M at 1-2 for third. Fifth is a 3-way tie between the Ole Miss Rebels, Auburn Tigers, and those Mississippi State Bulldogs, all rounding out the bottom of the SEC West.
Yeah, the East really whooped up on the West last weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Arkansas whipped up on Auburn. So
yeah, which was surprising to no one because just like always, Arkansas's pitching is deep. They are consistently a perennial great regular season team, and we'll see if that continues into the playoffs. But
I hope not.
Yeah, same. Their basketball team is good. They're in the Sweet 16. You imagine an Omaha run, they'd be even more insufferable on Twitter.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. I think that's all my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
It's a big TBD. You can make your grand, announcements about what's going to happen the rest of the year based on one weekend.
Yep.
But I can confidently say that Missouri is not going to stay atop the East, and LSU is not going to lose the West. I mean, it's not going to happen. They're going to win it going away.
Yep. All right, Uncle Buck, as we close out this show, give me one upset in the Sweet 16 you think is going to happen. Give me one upset.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull them up just so.
I'll kind of run down while you're looking them up. We've got Alabama, San Diego State. We've got Creighton and Princeton, the FAU Owls against Tennessee, Kansas State and Michigan State, Houston, Miami, Xavier, Texas, Arkansas, UConn, and Gonzaga, UCLA.
Give me FAU over Tennessee.
Yeah.
And give me Arkansas over UConn.
Well, you stole one of mine. I was going FAU over Tennessee. That's a trendy. The FAU is a good basketball team. But since you took those, I'm going Michigan State over Kansas State. I think that's the kiss of death for Tom Izzo's team, but they're playing some really good basketball right now. And it's been a year of parity. It's been a lot of number 1 top seeds getting beat. Miami's got an 11% chance, but give me the Hurricanes, man. I'll take Miami and I'll take Michigan State to find a way to win this weekend. So, Uncle Buck, you watching anything else this weekend? Anything on your mind?
Ole Miss against Louisville in Las Vegas on Friday night, women's college basketball. I'll be dialed into that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to try to find at least one game to go to of the Ole Miss Florida series.
Yeah.
At home. I've got another business trip next week, so I got to stay home, see the family for a little bit. Yeah. So I'm not going to go all weekend to Oxford. But yeah, that's it for me this weekend. Warm and I can go play outside.
There you go. Well, I will be without cell service, maybe minimal cell service, no TV. So I'll miss Mississippi State and Vanderbilt this weekend. Might be a good thing. I will be hiking 27.5 miles of the Appalachian Trail in western North Carolina. So if this is the last time that I'm ever on this podcast, it's been great. Uncle Buck, I've enjoyed it. Thanks to our viewers and listeners. But I plan to be back next week after I get off the trail. But looking forward to going to have some great weather. Highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s. Perfect camping weather as we hike along the Appalachian Trail in western North Carolina. Some buddies from the gym. It's going to be a good time.
When being chased by a bear, the rules.
Just outrun your buddy.
Yeah. You don't got to be the fastest. You just got to be faster than the other guy.
Listen, I know nobody else from my group is listening to this. I only know one of these cats that I'm going with, so it is nothing for me to kneecap somebody I don't know.
No. Well, Rusty, I enjoyed it. Looking forward to another good podcast next week. Happy belated birthday.
Appreciate it, buddy.
And tell everybody where they can find us this week.
Yes, sir. Look us up at the number 2 Bucks Sports Pod on Instagram, Twitter, at 2 Bucks Sports Podcast on Facebook. Check us out on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen to us at. We appreciate you tuning in. Wouldn't be here without y'all, and it's been exciting to grow this thing. So, Drew, appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all be good.
Bye, guys.